Okay, Shalom Aleichem everybody, we're up to Daf Gimel Amud Beis. Really today is Daf Daled, but we stopped at Daf Gimel Amud Beis in the middle. Rav Ashi Omar, we're in the middle of a shiur b'divrei Reb Shimon. One brayso Reb Shimon says that if you are makter Menachos shaloi lishma, it's olu l'baylam l'shem choiva, and another brayso says it's loy olu. So Rav Ashi Omar loy kasha. You have it? It's mamish in the middle, smack in the middle of the Amud. It's like a little bit toward, the top. Bidyuk, yes. Vashem Malay Kasha, it's not a stira. Kan, when Reb Shimon is machshir, shloi lishma, in other words, he says that it's alu l'bayl l'shem chayva, that's bekoimes machvas l'shem archeshes. When he does the kmitza of a machvas l'shem archeshes, he's just saying l'shem archeshes. L'shum, the marcheshes. Marcheshes is a keli, it's nothing. So then it works. Kan bekoimetz minchas machvas l'shem minchas marcheshes. So what's the difference? That's when it's puzzle. What's the difference? So the first case, machvas l'marcheshes, but monaka machashev. He's thinking about a keli. He's saying, I don't want it to be a machvas, I want it to be a marcheshes. It's hevel, right? Machshav b'man lo pasla, it's nothing. So Miller Reb Shimon says it's kosher. You didn't have a machshava shaloi l'shma about a mincha, you had a machshava about a different pat. That's nothing. But if he says minchas machvas l'shem minchas marcheshes, then b'mincha the pasla b'machshava kamachashev. Then he's machashev, he's thinking about a different mincha, which such a type of machshava pasels. That is how he resolves the stira. He asks, what do you mean? V'tana, the Tana the Brisa, which means Reb Shimon, he doesn't say that. He seems to be giving a different reason. He says, when he says it's kosher and it's alu l'bayl l'shem chayva, he says because your mais is mechiach otherwise. According to that, there shouldn't be a difference between minchas or just marcheshes. Yeah. Bottom line is, even if you think minchas marcheshes, you're using a machvas, so it should always be kosher. So the Gemara doesn't like Rav Ashi's teretz simply because it doesn't fit with the Mishnah, with the Brisa, with the Lashon Brisa of Reb Shimon. Answers the Gemara, Hachi Kamar. So you have to kind of tweak the Brisa a little bit in Reb Shimon. You have to say like this: Afal gav the machshava minkarhi. Some Gersa says the loy minkarhi. Which means what? Which means even though the machshava is definitely going against a maisa, there's a clear contradiction between your maisa, which is machvas, and your machshava, which is marcheshes. Yeah. So here's the chiddush. Rav Ashi holds that when there's a clear contradiction, they cancel each other out to puzzle, and it should be puzzle agami. It should be loy alu. So why is it alu? On that, Reb Shimon says because maseo mechichan oleo, right? That's why, not Maseh Mechichan Aleh, it's because he's thinking about a pot. Right? The bottom line is he didn't say mincha, he's doing machvas, he's thinking about marcheshes. Okay, fine. So what Reb Shimon really means to say is even though Maseh Mechichan Aleh, and therefore it should be puzzle because the machshava is going keneged the maisa, and in a case where there's an apparent machshava contradicting a maisa, it's even more mistaber that it should be puzzle. Still, it's not. Why? Because he's thinking about a different pot. That's nothing. By zvachim, we don't say that it's alu. We don't use this whole svara of thinking about a pot when you think about a shlamim instead of an oila. Why? Even though there's no contradiction between the mais and the machshava, because as far as the mais is concerned, you can't tell whether it's an oila or a shlamim, right? And as far as the machshava is concerned, even if you have a machshava of a shlomim, when you're doing an oila, there's no ma'isa machichin that you are doing it otherwise. You're doing otherwise. So the Gemara says, so l'chayr it should be kosher. Still, it's possible by zvachim. You know why? Because bezvich the pasal machshava k'machashav. A shlomim is the name of a different carbon. An oila is the name of a different carbon. So mamela, if you have machshava that you're doing a shlomim instead of an oila, then that machshava holds weight because you're thinking about a different carbon as opposed to marcheshes and machvas. You're just thinking about a different pot. That's nothing. If that's the logic in Reb Shimon, because when you're doing a machvas and you're thinking about a marcheshes, it's only b'monaka machashav. You're just thinking about a different pot and therefore it's okay. What about chareva meshemblu? Chareva is it's dry, there's no shemen, it's completely dry. and you're doing that kind of kamitza by such a mincha, and you're thinking about belula, which is mincha soilus, right? Different mincha. So over there, Reb Shimon says it's kosher. Why is it kosher? L'chayra, there's no kli. It should be possible. It should be like a oil and a shlamim. Because the only reason why machvas l'shem archeshes is kosher, because they're both kalim, they're pots. So you think from one pot to the next, that's nothing. But charevim mishim belula, l'chayra, that's like oil and shlamim. That's the name of the mincha. So it should be possible. Why is Reb Shimon machshir it atmaseh mechichin? Amarlei l'shem bila ba'alma. No, belula is actually not the name of the korban, right? Gemara is going to say in a moment. It's really belula b'shemen. Not belula stam means just a mixture. So it could be you're doing the charevim shibla. It's like doing a mechel l'shem archeshes. It's nothing, right? It doesn't. The name belula means nothing. It just means a mixture. If so, asks the Gemara, l'shem shlomim nami. Shlomim also, l'shem shlomim ba'alma. Yeah, you could say also shlomim means nothing. If you do an oil l'shem shlomim, why is it possible? Could be shlomim ba'alma means l'shem shalom, peace. Yeah, peace between him and the Rebbeinu Shloim. Yeah, he's making peace. Says more hachi ashta. No, there's a difference. Oil l'shem shlomim would be problematic because asam zevach gufa ikri shlomim. The korban itself is called a shlomim. The chsiva makar is dama shlomim, azir is dama shlomim. But hacha mincha gufa mi ikri belula. Mincha is not called belula. The chol mincha belula b'Hashem eksiv. Belula b'Hashem and ikri. Belula stama lo yikri. It's called belula b'Hashem and it's not called belula stama. So when you're doing a charevi, you're thinking of belula, you should know it's like machvas thinking about marcheshes. You're just thinking about stam, some belula ba'alma. And it wouldn't be a machshav shlei l'shma. Oh! Hey, alech mashula. Why?
קודש הקודשים, איפה אתה מתפעל יש לו כאן מפה.
כן.
כתב את המפה.
איפה מה? מה המפה?
איך להתפלל, ואתה יודע איפה מול קודש הקודשים. לפי השיטה...
מה אתה אומר?
לפי השיטה הנכונה.
מה אתה אומר? זה אותו דבר? זה שניהם אותו דבר?
אותו דבר, כן. זה בשבילך,
וואי. אז מה אני אעשה עם זה? אז רק שאנחנו...
תלמד את זה ותיקח את זה. תגיד לאנשים, וזה...
אני אוהב קבלה, זה קבלה גם כן פה?
בטח קבלה.
או רק מידות, לדעת. My math is terrible. I'm very bad at math. Yeah, but okay, fine. ישקוייך, אבשול, thank you. תודה.
הרבה information here.
תודה רבה לך. Okay. So we are up to... We're up to Mirza Hashem. We're up to Daf Gimel Amud Beis. Yeah. How many lines from the bottom? We are around 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 lines from the bottom. Kula Karabali Amri. Okay, Daf Gimel Amud Beis. Today's the Daled. We're going to do we start from where we left off last night. But we had 3 terutzim in the steer of Reb Shimon, right? Reb Shimon, we had a steer in Reb Shimon. Mincha sheloi l'shma. Olu l'baylam l'shem chayva or lo yolu l'baylam l'shem chayva. We had Rabbi's teretz with the Shina Kodesh Shina Bailam. We had Rav Ashi's teretz, which is whether you are thinking of a mincha or just marcheshes. And we had Rav's teretz, who says that it's a difference in mincha l'shem mincha or mincha l'shem zevach. Depends what the shloi l'shma was. Gemara says, Kula karabba lo yamri. Rav and Rav Ashi don't want to say like karabba. You know why? The adarabba. Machshav the minker apostle rachmana, because they're cholik in svaras, in basic svara. In the basic svara, when you have a maisa contradicting a machshava, does that cancel each other out, or and it's puzzle, or it's kosher? It's a reason for it to be kosher. Karavalo yamri v'zois taras lamashmalu. They don't darshan the pasuk of zois taras. That's the makar for Rava. Tara achas l'chala menachos. That mincha l'shem mincha is not a problem. Because the kasha racha b'rei d'rava. Now the Gemara says like this: Mils the pshit lo rabba la'agis lo rabba la'agisa me'boy lo rabba oishio. Yeah, sometimes it's pashat. What's pashat to one yid is a shaila to another Jew. Yeah, what's pashat to one yid? Yeah, it's an amazing thing. Mils the pshit lo rabba this way. He says that if ma'isa mechichin, then it's kosher, even when the machshava contradicts it. Rav is milsa the pshita lay that if you have ma'isa mechich and machshava contradicts it, then it's for sure apostle. Rav Aishi has a shaila. Some are stuck in the middle. He's not sure. Milsa the pshita rabba l'haigis l'rav l'haigisa Meboyle le Rav Oishia, the boy Rav Oishia, Vav leboy menei Rav Oishia Merabasi, mincha l'shem zevach, mali omer Reb Shimon. What does Reb Shimon hold when you do a mincha l'shem zevach? If you do, let's say, a minchas machvas, l'shem oila or l'shem shlomim, a korban behema. Yeah, what would be the halacha according to Reb Shimon? Would it be kosher or apostle? What's the shaila? Time of the Reb Shimon, perhaps by Menachos, when you do one mincha l'shem another mincha, the reason Reb Shimon is mishmachshava the minkura loy pasla, because the machshava where the maisa is nicker that it's something else, it's not possible. Machshava the minkura. So also when you do a menachos, let's say machvas l'shem oiler shem shlamim, it's also the maisa is mechiach and the would be kosher. Oidilma, or maybe time of the Reb Shimon should chsiv zoyster sa mincha v'zevach leksive. Maybe only by menachos Reb Shimon says the chiddush. If you do one mincha l'shem another mincha, it's kosher because zoyis Torah sa mincha we darshan Torah achas l'chol menachos. But it doesn't say zevach there. So Mamela, Rav Oishia, right? Rav Oishia has a shaila by oila l'shem zevach. Oila l'shem zevach. I'm sorry, mincha l'shem zevach is a kosher or possible. Omar Alis Rav Asi answered him, Klum iganu l'sevdaita shel Reb Shimon. You really think we can understand the deepest depths of Reb Shimon? Tashmei ma katuv po. Klum iganu l'sevdaita shel Reb Shimon. Can we actually understand the deepest depths of what Reb Shimon meant? Okay. Rav Asi didn't want to accept any one of the terutzim in Reb Shimon. In other words, Rav Asi was moida. He admitted to himself, and to Rav Asi says, I don't understand Reb Shimon. We have Rabba that answered the stira. He didn't want to answer like Rabba. Why? Abaya had a kasha earlier. Right? Because Menachos is hukash l'zvachim, and if it's zvachim, by zvachim there's no chilik when shini kodesh in a bailam, so Menachos also should not be a chilik. Kerova, he didn't want to answer like Rava. It depends if it's l'shem mincha, l'shem zavach, because l'mshan l'shem kushav zoyis teres achatas, because teres achatas also should have the same halacha like zoyis teres mincha. And Keravashi l'mshan l'shem kushav teres achabrei di Rava, right? Charevi l'shem belula. Okay, he didn't want to answer like any of the terutzim. Like any of the earlier terutzim. So Mamela behim, it blibes a shaila, and he stays with the klum iganu l'sevdaita shel Reb Shimon. He taka doesn't understand Reb Shimon, and he blibes by a stira in these two brises. Okay, zuk da'ile gigemur vater, 2 dots. Chutz minchas choyte minchas kanois. The Mishnah says that by 2 menachos, if you do it shaloi l'shma, it's possible legamr, it's loy alu. Minchas choyte and minchas kanois. Minchas choyte is, we said, the 3 averis, korban v'yoyer, the poorest korban is a mincha, and minchas kanois is what the Baal brings to the kohen when he brings his wife by a saita. Yes. Gemara says, bishloima minchas choyte. I understand why minchas choyte, it's possible legamr, if you do it shaloi l'shma, because chatas kari rechmana. The Torah calls it a chatas. And it says in the Torah, "Liyosem el Hashem and v'leitna lavoina kichatasi." Right, it's a chareva. Doesn't get shemen or lavoina by a soita. It's just dry, and it's called a chatas. And we know by a chatas, moshe by behema, we already established the Masechta Zvachim that shaloi l'shma, the first mission in Zvachim, that shaloi l'shma by a chatas is possible legamri. So too over here by mincha. Mincha is also called a chatas. This kind of mincha at least. So Mamela. It's possible. Minchas kanois minolan. How do I know minchas kanois? A mincha that the Baal brings to the kohen, by a soita. How do I know that shaloi lishma is possible legamri? To Tana Kamedu of Nachman. Gemara answers. Minchas kanois moisara nadav. There's a brisa, right? The Tana learned the following brisa balpeh in front of Rav Nachman. Minchas kanois moisara nadav. When you're dealing with minchas kanois, let's say a person is mafresh mois, takes let's say $100, and he puts $100 aside to buy flour for a minchas kanois. How much is flour now in the?
Barley.
Huh?
Minchas kanois is barley. Soita.
It's soita, but it's flour from barley.
It's barley flour.
No, it's barley.
Barley flour. Okay, so how much is barley flour in the store today?
Barley is barley.
What? It's still.
Barley is behema. It's Michael behema.
You don't have, but it's not raw barley. It's flour, right? It's soilus made out of barley.
I know, but they have to prepare.
What is this?
They have to prepare.
I understand.
They can't buy,
So let's say what is?
buy raw.
Yeah.
And they go through the whole process.
Right. The Baal himself has to prepare it. You're saying?
The Baal has to prepare it.
Mamash has to grind it and.
I have the whole secret.
I didn't know. I didn't know that he was the one who has to grind it. Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at the Dam of the art scroll. It's Geschmack because they have all the different types of Menachos. Does it have Minchas Kenois? Minchasite. The Minchasite is brought by a woman who is suspected of being unfaithful to her husband. The flour is made of entire kernels of barley, including the bran, except for the type of flour and tenufa. This korban is identical to the Minchas Chayta. Okay? So in other words, there's no tenufa, and the type of flour is different. It's made of barley. Okay, that's a Minchas Kenois. Okay, very good.
There's no lavona that you buy.
Nothing. There's no shem, there's no levina garnished.
It's dry.
It's just dry, chareva. Okay. Except for tenufa and the type of barley, it's identical to Minchas Chayta. Okay, shkoyach, doctor. Wow. Oh, sorry. Okay. So the Gemara says like this.
Yeah.
What if somebody...
The Baal used to bring it.
The Baal used to bring it, yes.
Baal used to bring it.
So how much does it cost? A pound of flour, sorn of flour, how much does it cost in the store made from barley? Yeah, with the bran, a few dollars. He puts that $100. And how much does it cost? Let's say $5. So now he has $95 change. That's called moisra l'dava. You have to take that $95, you buy a korban, and that korban becomes an oila. You bring it as an adava. So...
No, in Minchas solid. The solid, the burg, like you know what burgul is?
No.
Okay. Do you know the couscous?
Yeah.
You know the couscous, how they make the couscous?
Sure.
They're solid.
That's oiless? Uh-huh.
They're solid. They're Minchas solid. And they used to make it with no shemen and no levana. Mamash, just like the burgul. Just the couscous. The couscous, they make it on just steam, huh?
I think so.
Just steam.
It's very dry.
Uh-huh.
It's very
Wow.
dry.
Okay.
Very dry, yeah. Just steam.
Okay. So that's the Gemara Minchas Kenois Misar Nadava, which means Misar Nadava means...
solid זה קמח דק, זה הקוסקוס.
Aha. So over here, this case, this Bryce is talking about you put $100 aside, $5 you buy the flour, and then the $95 you have to use for Oilas Nadava. So Amalei, Shaper Ka'amrit Maskeres Oven Ksivba, Bechatas Ksiva Ois Noslacham Sein Savana Edo, right? We dash an oven, Ma Chatas Moiser Nadava, Af Minchas Kenois Moiser Nadava. Okay, so once we have Xer Shava oven, the oven of Minchas Kenois to the oven of a regular Chatas, for this halacha to learn of Moiser Nadava, so to have Af Minchas Kenois Moiser Nadava, so Chatas, you also learn another halacha from Chatas. Ma Chatas Psula Shloi Lishma, Af Minchas Kenois Psula Shloi Lishma. Just like a Chatas is Psula Shloi Lishma, so to Minchas Kenois is Psula Shloi Lishma. So that's how I know Minchas Kenois Psula Shloi Lishma. Gemara says, El Atom Osham Yei Pasul Shloi Lishma Digomer of Mechatas. It also says, V'lo Yod V'Osham Nasa Avoyna. But Osham also says Avoyn. So learning Xer Shavim Osham Techatas, that Osham Shloi Lishma is also Pasul. Says the word Nain. Don in oven, may oven, ve'in don in avoyna may oven. But Osham says Avoyna. It's not the same word. What says Ma'inav Kamina? What do you mean? You don't need the exact identical word in both parshiyas. We know Torah the Baby Shmuel said that even if you have Shiva and Bia, it's also enough, similar enough to make a Xer Shava. So who cares Avoyna or Oven? V'oid, another kasha. I found you another Avoyna, the same identical word that you have by Osham, you have by Chatas of Shmias Koil. And just like that Chatas, Shloi Lishma is pasul, so to Osham should be pasul. Gemara says, Elo, ki gamri Xer Shava, l'maiser nadava de gamri. No, the Xer Shava is limited to the halacha of Moiser Nadava. Yeah? The halacha of Minchas Kenois, Moiser Nadava, from the Xer Shava of an oven, you learn from Chatas, is only by the halacha of Moiser Nadava. What do you mean? Only with regard to that halacha. Once you have Xer Shava, it should be extended to all the different halachas that apply to Chatas. Should apply that to Kenois. Whereas no, Galar Chamonik Abachatas, V'shachat Oisel Lechatas, Oisel Lishma Ksher Shlashma Psula, V'kol Kachim, Ben Lishma Ben Shlashma Ksherim. With regard to Shaloi Lishma Pasal by Chatas is a miyat. It says V'shachat Oisa Lechatas. Oisa Only that, l'shma ksher shlashma psula. But any other kachim, you cannot learn from chatas to any other kachim that shlashma is possible. Zamiyut. And that's why you can apply that to Asham. So the Gemara says, 1 second. So if you can't learn from chatas, before we said at least minchas choyti, it's called a chatas. But now that we said that it's only chatas behema, v'shachat oisal lachatas, by shchita, right? So minchas choyti minchas kenoy is the psul and shlo lishma. No, how do you know the makar? Our Mishnah says that kmitza by minchas choyti minchas kenoy shlo lishma is pasul. How do I know that? There's no makar. The Gemara answers. The Gemara says, "I'll give you a different teretz. Chatas time ma'ai v'shem dechsiv ba who? How do I know about chatas shlo lishma by korban behema? Shlo lishma is pasul because it says who, which means you have to shecht it as is, not l'shem another korban. Haninami also mechas choyte mechas kenois. It says an extra word exibba who. So the who teaches that dafka mechas choyte l'shem mechas choyte mechas kenois l'shem mechas kenois is kosher. Otherwise, it's possible. Gemara says 1 second. Asham nami ksiv behu. Asham also says who. So shlo lishma by an asham should also be possible. Gemara says who la'achar aktaris emurin hu dechsev. That who is referring to after aktaris emurin. There's a different halacha. Different halacha. What's the halacha? Keretanya. Aval oshum l'namar by who el lachar aktaris emurin. It says who only after you makter the emurin. Who atzmai shalei huktura emurin kosher. Which means that what does this mean? Even if you can't be makter the amurim, the korban is kosher. Okay, that's what you learn from who. Elohu lamali. That's why it doesn't say who before. Yeah, even if you're not makter the amurim, you're okay. Ve'elohu lamali. The ma'isa, why need who for? Elok deravuna amarav. What's who teaching me? Ashem shenut l'kariya shchat estam kosher l'shem oilo nitik en lo nitik loy amakrahu b'aviyasa yehei. The halach is, let's say, asham that was lost, the bailam got another asham, then the first one was found, and the second one can't be nikrav because the bailam was ready in a skaper. So what do? You have to give it over to a roya, and until it becomes a mum, you can't sell. But once it has a mum, you sell it, you buy with the funds in oila. So Gemara says like this: what if he jumped the gun and before he gave it over to a roya, for it to get a mum, he was makar as an oila? It's no good. Nitaken, only if he gave it to a roya, that's when the shem asham was nisnatek, it was uprooted the shem asham, and now it becomes kosher la'oila if you shechtet stam. But before you give it over to a roya, loy nitek, loy, it's not kosher la'oila. How do I know that? I'm a krah who, baviyasiyahei, that this who is teaching me that the kedushas asham, the name of an asham, stays with it until you give it over to a roya, so that you get a mum, and with the funds you buy an oila. Right? So before you give it over to a roya, if a guy jumped the gun and you makar v'l'shem oila, it's no good. It says who. It stays in asham until you give it over to a roya. Okay, now we go to a new topic. We're 3 lines at the bottom of Dadal Amud Aleph. Oh my Rav. So Rav gesagt. Minchas oimer shekmatze shloi l'shma psula. Oh, we have a minchas oimer. What's a minchas oimer, Reb Shaul? So many different types of menachos, we have to keep track. What's a minchas oimer? Oh, correct. It's Pesach, 2nd day Pesach, right? And that also comes from barley. That comes from barley. And you roast it in fire, and then you grind it in a very specific way, and you bring like shemen, levaina, and you bring a korban oila, keves la'oila, and that's matir the tvur chadash. So that's a minchas oimer. So minchas oimer comes to essentially to be matir the chadash. Okay, so what happens if you have a minchas oimer? Rav says shekamatz lo shloi l'shma. You did a kamitza shloi l'shma. I guess you did it in l'shem mechvais machvas or l'shem archeshes, l'shem sa. Whatever it is, hoyle bo la psula, it's puzzle. Psula gamri. Hoyle bos lahatir v'lo yatira, which means that the whole tafkid, the whole purpose of a minchas oimer is to be matir the tvur chadasha ba'achila. So if you're kaimetz et shaloi l'shma, then you never accomplished the goal. And therefore it's pasal legamri. Kahanim don't do nothing. It's pasal legamri. If it didn't accomplish its goal, if the whole goal is to be matter the chadash, and you didn't accomplish it, על ידי הקרבת העומר, ואתה מתוך שהכהן חשב שלא לשמה, אז לא הותר. אם זה לא הותר, אז המנחה פסולה לגמרי. אין שירי נאכל לכהנים. You can't even be makter on the מזבח, שום דבר. אוקיי, וכן אתה בשנות זה שם הצוירה, ששחוט נשלוש זמן פסולן. הוי לבוא להחשב ולא יכשירו. The whole תפקיד. מה זה?
אז איך הם היו עושים את זה? הם היו עושים את זה...
Second day of Pesach.
אז איך הם היו עושים את העומר הזה? זה היה חייב להיות...
ידעו לשמו. You have to do לשמו.
היה חייב להיות בלי מים. I don't know, how do you...
No, Minchas Omer was with מים, with shemen.
אז איך היו עושים את זה? זאת אומרת שזה לא יטפח, שזה לא יהיה חמץ.
They took...
שזה לא יהיה חמץ, איך היו עושים את זה?
You're saying that...
Barley.
So what? The Chameshes Minei Doga, no? It's also... So he's asking... He's saying, what do you do with it now? You're saying, that's what you're saying?
איך היו מכינים אותו, את הברלי הזה, את העומר הזה, את
מה הבעיה?
הסולת הזה, בלי מים?
בשמן.
They
אז... אתה אומר, אפילו בשמן זה יכול להחמיץ.
לא, שמן לא יחמיץ, אבל הסולת, אתה לא יכול לאכול את הסולת הזה אם זה לא, לשים את זה בעדים, אפשר, זה בלתי אפשר. ראית את זה פעם? Did you see it פעם? I'm gonna bring it.
Bring it, yeah, I want to see it.
Bring it so you can see it.
Okay, Reb Shaul, yeah. Let's see. Let's see, what is this? Oh, this is the Minchas Ha'omer. The doctor he always comes prepared, the doctor. Shkoyach. The Minchas Ha'omer is brought each Pesach. It is identical to the Minchas Soilas, except that it is made of barley, and that the Kahanim did Tnufa. Again, it's made of barley, and there was Tnufa. So what happened? You put oil in a vessel, you add flour, barley, mixing with additional oil, you pour the remainder of the oil, and then you put on lavaina. You do kmitza, aktara, okay. Okay, בסדר. It's not dry. It's not חרבה.
היו לוקחים מנחת כנאות. היו לוקחים שעורים טריים מראשית הקציר. שעורים טריים, שעורים זה barley. Barley, fresh barley from the first, okay?
So to find barley
They
flour.
used to bring
Shkoyach, doctor. Avoid this Minchas Choy v'Korban
עושים
Ha'omer.
הנפה, עושים מניפים את זה. ואז כל הקומץ הזה עולה על המזבח.
כן.
The comments.
So listen what they used to do. They used to put it on the mizbeach, and it used to become like a caramel. אתה מבין מה זה קורה? You understand מה קורה?
No, tell me.
They used to take it. They used to take the
Yeah.
השעורים עצמם טריים, like fresh
Yeah.
one. אוקיי, והיה שמים אותם על המזבח.
Yeah.
זה הופך להיות קרמל, איך זה? זה caramelized.
It becomes caramelized, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
It's amazing. The word carmel is caramelized, and the doctor said yesterday, sa'or is sour. Sa'or is sour, right? So you have all these words. Sourdough, yeah. You have all these words coming from the Torah.
זה caramelized. Used to caramelize.
Aha.
This is, היו שמים את זה על המזבח, והשאר לכהנים.
Right.
השאר נאכל לכהנים. הקומץ עולה על המזבח.
Mizbeach, aktora, v'ashar nechal hakanim. Beautiful. Okay, so bekitza, if you do the shloi lishma, it's possible legamri. Ashar eino nechal hakanim. You can't be makter if you do kmitza shloi
והם
lishma.
היו עושים את זה עד שבועות.
מה זאת אומרת עד שבועות? כל יום עד שבועות?
היו עושים את זה עד שבועות. זה מה שהוא אומר. הוא אומר, והקהוד הוציא אכילת תבואה חדשה, נספרת ספירת העומר עד חג שבועות.
זה ספירה סוימר, אבל לא הקורבן. קורבן מנחה סוימר רק בט"ז זין ניסן.
מה היו עושים?
Yeah.
מה עושים בית המקדש? מה זה ספירת העומר? מה זאת אומרת ספירת העומר?
Sfira almost starts from the day when
ספירת האימר, עד שמביא... ספירת האימר, עד שמביאים שתי הלחם. אבל לא,
is
שבועס.
Shavuos.
Yeah, so you brought a minchas aimer every day till Shavuos? I don't think so.
This is only
On the 16th, yeah. Tel Zayin Nisan. Right. Okay, but Akoponim, Sheyibana Beit HaMikdash b'meira b'yameinu. We'll find out exactly how it's done over there. You know what I told you? I told you that we had a guy in our yeshiva in high school. Yeah? On Rosh Hashanah, we drink, would have all these simonim. And he would put bananas on everybody's plate. And he would say, Yiratzah she banana Beit HaMikdash b'meira b'yameinu. I would drink water because I speak Yiddish. I would say Yiratzah she yevaser lanu b'seres toivos. Okay, v'chein ato omer ba'asham nozer sham atzayir shechon shashma psulin. Raisins and celery. Celery. Yeah. So again, by Hashem nozer sham atzayir also, since the whole purpose of those two korbanos is to be machshir, the metzora, the nozer, to come back into the Beis HaMikdash, yeah. So Mela, if it didn't fulfill its purpose, then it's pasal legamri. Okay, that is Rav's chiddush. We'll see. It's not so pashut. Yeah, it's not such a pashut chiddush. We'll see Rish Lakish tomorrow's daf is going to argue. Tanan kol menachos shnik mishal shmak sheiris elish lo b'shem chayve chutz minchas chayt minchas kenoyes. Then Isa, if it's true that minchas oimer shaloi l'shmas pasal also, list not mechutz minchas oimer. Why isn't it in the list in the Mishnah where it says chutz minchas chayt minchas kenoyes? Say minchas oimer also shaloi l'shmas pasal. Says the Gemara, you're right. It could have, but kiktani bo yachid. Chayte and kenoyes is yachid. This oimer is bought tzibur like tani. Kitani, another chilik, babiglal atzma. Chayte and kenoyes doesn't come with a korban; it comes on its own. But the minchas oimer comes with a zevach, babiglal zevach like tani. Another chilik, kiktani. The Mishnah teaches hanoch she'in kavur and zman. There's no zman kavur to bring it, right? Chayte kenoyes whenever it happens. The minchas oimer is kavur lazman, like you said, the 16th of Nisan, and therefore like tani. So three chilukim exactly. To explain exactly why the Mishnah doesn't mention Minchas Omer as part of the list of what Shaloi L'Shmas Pasal. Amar Mar. Now the Gemara is going to deal with the second part of Rav, which says, he said, Hashem Naz Hashem Tzayro is also Pasal because Hoy L'Bo L'Hach Shev L'Echshiru. Amar Mar V'chein Atay B'Shem Shem 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 L'Hach Shev L'Echshiru. Tanan, we learned the Mishnah Zvachim. First Mishnah. Kol HaZvachim Sheshchat Shalosh Ksheir Nal Shalom Hashem Chay V'chutz Pesach V'chatos. Then Isa, if it's true that these two Hashem Shaloi L'Shma is also Pasal, listen to Nami in that first Mishnah, right? When it says the exceptions, where it's lo yolu b'ashem chayv if it's lo l'shma, should also say chutz m'shem naz hashem etzayru. The bo la'achshav l'chshir, like Rav says, because as far as any korban that's coming to be machshir and couldn't fulfill its potential or its purpose of being machshir, it's possible lo l'shma. So you should count it in the Mishnah in Zvachim Davez. Yeah, as part of the list of shlo l'shma's puzzle. Says the Gemara, no. Kim deika sham gzeil sham ilois lachapara asu. Since there's also other Hashemas, Hashem Gzelos, Hashem Me'ilos, right? They come for kapara, to be mechaper on the aver of Me'ilah or Gezel. So like Psikale, and those Shaloi L'Shma would still be kosher. So like Psikale, the Tana didn't want to say Hashemas when within Hashemas you have different halachas. Hashem Naz Hashem Tzayir would be pasul, Hashem Gzelos Hashem Me'ilos would be kosher. Yeah, so that's why. So now the Gemara wants to know, Ma'ishna Hashem Naz Hashem Tzayir Debol Hachshav Le'Echshiru. Haninami bola kapara v'lekipru. Why tak Hashem Nazir and Hashem Etzayir is possible? Because it couldn't fulfill its purpose. Shaloi L'Shma can never be machshirit, and therefore it's possible legamri. But Hashem Gzel Shamilas also it should be possible legamri, because the whole purpose of that is to be mechaper, and it didn't fulfill its purpose. It wasn't mechaper, it should be possible legamri. The same svara. We find that the Torah is mechalik and mechaper machshirin. Mechaperin korbanos that are mechaper is buda asal lachar misa. There are some korbanos that are mechaper that come lachar misa. Machshirin les buda asal lachar misa. But machshirin, you have no machshirin that you could bring lachar misa. There's no such case in the Torah when a korban is going to be machshir that it can come lachar misa. Now the Gemara is going to explain. Where do you find mechaperim is craving lachar misa? Machshirim in craving lachar misa. That now, Isha Yoledes has to bring a chatas and the oila, right? So let's say this Isha Yoledes, she brought a chatas, and before she could bring an oila, she died. So Allah is Yaviu Yarshan Elasa. But what happens if she brought the oila or mesa and she still has to bring a chatas? Then Lo Yaviu Yarshan Chatasa. They cannot bring a chatas. So what do you see from here? that that in the korban that's machshir, right? You can't bring the chatas is machshir, and that you can bring lacha misa, and the oil is mechaper, and you could bring lacha misa. So that's why. Interesting, right? You would think chatas is mechaper. What is misa itself mechaper? We learned about it in the Sanhedrin, right? Also yuma, right? It's toil of and misa mechaper. So you're asking, isn't misa alone mechaper? Why would she still need some kapara? Some kapara. Gemara calls it a kapara. Oil is mechaper.
Because she makes like a shiur, so
never. Yeah. So you're asking what? You're asking why does she need a kapara if misa is mechaper? You know, it's interesting. I mean, if it's true that misa is mechaper, totally, then the whole sugya of gilgulim doesn't apply, right? What's a gilgul? Gilgul means you come up to Shemayim, right? And you come in front of Bezdin Shel Mala, and you got to come back down. Gehenim, Kafakela. We don't want to talk about all the Einshin. Yeah, that...
maybe the difference is Madriga to kapara.
That's what I have to say.
Kapara shlema.
Yeah.
It's just a stain.
Yeah. I was just learning tonight, again, I'm obsessed with the Sefer, Rav Meir Eliyahu, about Gilgulim. ועכשיו למדתי הספרו, הספר is called Maisa Merkava. It sounds very... Maisa Merkava. He says that, under 25 for sure, people shouldn't look at these Sfarim. But he's very clear, very, very clear. And he has a whole shaila, how many Gilgulim does it take for a person? How many Gilgulim do you have to come back? Shalosh. It says Shalosh. That's only if you weren't masakin anything. The pasuk says. He says, fourth, you don't. If you come back 3 times and you didn't make any advances in tshuva, then the Hashem doesn't send you down a 4th time. But if you make some advances, then each time a little more, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu sends you down as many times as you need to. Unfortunately, yeah. I mean it's a big tsar for the neshama, big tsar. So. I was looking into it. There's some people, and he writes it in the Sefer also, some people today who remember their past life. That's right. Many masters, many lives, many masters. Yeah, it's Weiss, Dr. Brian Weiss or somebody. Yeah.
Past life regression.
Yeah. There's a lot of research about it, and he writes, look, he writes that Rizal, Merchai Vital, that usually we don't remember our past Gilgul. If we remember, then you take away Bechira. If we remembered why we're here, we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't do Averis. We know exactly what to be Masakin, and we'd be done with it. Right? You have to fight through it. That's the tikkun. But he says that there are exceptions. There are yotzim and aklal where Hashem says, look, I want the world to know that there is a concept of reincarnation of Gilgulim.
If you're smart, by the age of 50, 60, you will know exactly when you came for the world.
Okay, this is what I'm learning right now. He has unbelievable. He says he gives you Simonim how to know what your tikkun is, why you're here again. Why you're here again. And he brings so many dozens of examples of throughout history where we know Rabbi Vital says he was a Gilgul of him, he was a Gilgul of him, he was a Gilgul of him. And the same Neshama had to come back a few times. And that result was Megala to us. And you see clearly what their kasher to certain mitzvahs were, or struggles with certain aveiros were. He says, he's talking to a bacher came over to him. He says that he has inclinations for mishkav zacher, and his mom struggles with it. And he told him, he says he was never over on the aveira. He's just struggling with temptations. Yeah. So he told him. He showed him in Sefer Kabbalah. He said that it's very, very probable that in a different lifetime, you did an Aveira, and you have to come back and struggle with it. And, this is your challenge because you need to be Moiser Nefesh so that you're not, so you're masakin, you cleanse yourself. So you were saying it wasn't misa mechaper. Let's go back to the Gemara. It wasn't misa mechaper. Why do you need an oila after her death? Right, oila mechaperes. That's it, like you said, misa mechaper to a certain degree, but sometimes that's not enough. Okay, so what do you see from here? That oila is a kapara even lachamisa. You can have kapara lachamisa, but hachshara, chatos is machshir, that you can't have lachamisa, and therefore, what you see from here is that hachshara is different than kapara, and only hachshara shaloi l'shma would be possible, kapara wouldn't. Says the Gemara Maskler, the Rishon ben Pazi, machshirin nami milesbu da asul lachamisa challenges this assumption. You can't have machshir lachamisa v'tanan. Maglenta and Mishnah Meila, mafresh mois l'nzirusai. Somebody's mafresh mois for his nazirus. Loy nanin, loy moyalin, mesheruuyin love ikul shlamim. So what happens over here? A nazir has to bring 3 korbanos. Yeah, he has to bring a oila, a chatas, and a shlamim. So let's say each korban costs lamach zog, and each korban costs $33.33. So he takes $100, and he says, okay. 33.33 is going to go for a chatas, 33.33 is going to go for an oila, 33.33 is going to go for a shlamim. So, but he's not mefarish which 33.33 is going to go for what korban. He's not mefarish it. So any 33.33 can go for a shlamim. So that's the case. Mishnah Mila says, "Mafresh mois l'nzirusai, loy nenen v'loy moyalin, avadi nala be nena or moyal." Right? Don't forget, me'il is only by kachim, not by kachim kalam. So you can't be nana from any of that money. Why? Because part of that money is going for kachim, chatas and oila, right? But if you taka or moyal, you don't bring a korban or peichaimish. What? Nesheruuyin love ekul shlamim, because you could say that whatever I was moyalin, even if I was moyalin the whole $100, each of the 33 was eligible to be used for a shlamim, and a shlamim is no meila. Mace, what happens if the nazir died and you couldn't spend that money that it was mafresh for his naziris? And there was no explanation, explicit allocation of the money. So yiplu l'nadava. So all the money goes to nadava. What does yiplu l'nadava mean? Rashi says l'shoifris. I remember that shoifris in the Beis Hamikdash. Yeah, it's a lachal b'shem huh? Kaitz Mizbeach, exactly, because the Mizbeach was never allowed to be empty from karbanas. You always have to feed it. So Yiplo Nedava, Mefayrashin, Demei Chatas. What if it's Mefayrashin? So you already allocated 33.33 for Chatas. So there you can't just do anything with it. Demei Chatas, Yelech Le'am HaMelech. Right, just there, you have to get rid of it. Loy Nanin, Loy Moyalin. You're not allowed to have another Katchila. And if you're Taka over, then even here, you're not Moyal. Because it's Holchus Le'ibud, Rashi says. If it's Holchus Le'ibud, anything that the halach is that it goes Le'ibud, then there's no me'il on that. What do you say?
Why by the email we bring it out to you? So by the nazir, we don't bring it out to you.
Oh, okay, let's see. The nazir, you ask him, do you let this or no? Which one?
Yeah, we said by the lady.
By the lady.
Yeah,
that's the kasha. That is exactly the Gemara's kasha. Gemara asks, what is over here? Over here it says, you do bring an oila. Oh, okay. Why is it different than your led? That's mamash the Gemara's kasha, what you just asked, doctor. Which means there's a difference between hechsher kavua and hechsher she'einu kavua. Hechsher kavua is when there's nothing else being machsher the bailam. Hechsher kavua means this is the only korban that's going to be machsher the bailam. So baya yoledes, the only korban for achshara is the oila. So therefore, it's bolachar misa. But by a nazir, it's hechsher she'einu kavua. That's what's not balach misa. But nazir, it's hechsher she'einu kavua because each one is going to be machsherim. Even if you bring one of them, it's already machsherim, and therefore it's not a problem. Amar Gilach al achas mishloshton yatsa. That if you do a tiglachas after your makriv, either the oil chatas or the shlamim of the nazir, that's not already enough. So there's no kavua diga behema for the achshari. You can use either one of the three. Mashenkin by yoledes, there's only one behema. It's achshar kavua. The oil is going to be machshar, and therefore that can't come la'achar misa. That's the difference. Okay, we'll just finish off with the last line or two. Meisavei, Gemara asks on Rav. Interesting. Gemara asks on Rav. Rav again. Rav says Hasham betzoira. Hasham nazir shloi l'shma is pasal legamri. Gemara brings a brisa not like that. Meisavei Hasham nazir shenishkol shloi l'shmai. Oish lindom l'gabe ohaynis. Reiz oil l'gabe zbech. V'ton esachim. Right? It is kosher to bring out the mizbeach afterwards. You still need to bring another one because but it's kosher. Rav said it's possible legamri. It's a kasha and Rav from often a brisa. Says the Gemara tiyufta the Rav. This brisa is taka kasha and Rav. Tosfos says right over here on top. Pei Amud Aleph. Second Tosfos. Tosfos says tiyufta v'motzil lemeimu Rav Tanu Apalig. Could have said Rav Tanu Apalig. Could the Ka'omer bekama duchti. Why did it say Rav Tanu Apalig? Weisich. But the Gemara blibes with a tiyuv to unrav. Tomorrow, tomorrow we're going to tackle Rish Lakish and Yirtzeh Hashem. Rish Lakish argues on Rav over here. Okay, we have 3 minutes. If I can tell you a quick ma'aseh.